So we've gotten quite a few trailers for the MCU's newest attempt to remind you that Disney has a streaming app, adapting one of Marvel's lesser-known but still cult-favorite superheroes, Guy in a Sweater. And according to the trailers, the MCU will be adapting Guy in a Sweater's most iconic comic run, where he teams up with Guy, who was convicted for terrorism charges before escaping from prison but is somehow walking the streets openly, as they both go to Hollywood to star in a Wonder Man movie together. Wait, Wonder Man? This is supposed to be a Wonder Man show. Well, you could have fucking fooled me, because besides the name of the show, virtually nothing in here would tell you that this is anything to do with Wonder Man, much less a Marvel or even superhero show in really any way whatsoever. And that's just one of the red flags that I'm seeing while watching all the promo crap for this show, that it's gonna be dead on arrival. But there are plenty more. Let's keep it simple though, and narrow it down to the biggest four that I'm saying that this show is gonna be terrible. Starting with the one I just referenced, and something I cannot believe I even have to fucking say about a goddamn Marvel show called goddamn fucking Wonder Man. But this is just not Wonder Man. It's a character apathetically hijacked by Hollywood for an excuse to do a narcissistic self-parody. The first trailer for this show we got starts with the words, "This is Simon," appearing on the screen. But that's a goddamn fucking lie, and you fucking know it. Because this character is not Simon Williams. This is some fucking original MCU character who just happens to have the same name. And I've become quite infamous for, it's not like the comics, so it's bad. But this is something on an entirely different level. To those of you who don't know, who is Simon Williams? Well, the short answer is, Simon Williams runs Williams Innovations, but his company begins to fail, partially due to competition with Stark Industries. In desperation, he embezzles funds from his own company for illicit investment opportunities in the hopes of saving it, but is caught and imprisoned. He is freed by Baron Zemo, and with promises of rebuilding his wealth, as well as revenge against Stark, Simon agrees to undergo an ionic procedure that will grant him incredible superpowers. Zemo gives him a costume and a superhero name, and tells him his plans to have Simon join the Avengers as Wonder Man to destroy them from within, telling Simon that the ionic procedure will become deadly after a week unless Zemo gives him an antidote, securing Simon's compliance. As Wonder Man, he joins the Avengers and leads them into a trap. But as Zemo is about to kill them, Simon realizes that he is not willing to trade his life for theirs, and rebels against Zemo, saving the team but seemingly dying in the process, as a complex mixture of villain and hero. Due to his ionic nature, he is later revived and joins the Avengers, eventually overcoming his traumatic death, as well as his own self-doubt of whether or not he's truly a hero. Eventually overcoming all of it and becoming the hero he once only pretended to be, Wonder Man. He has a lot of stories among various teams of Avengers throughout the years and connections to many other Marvel heroes. And later on, he becomes an actor, using those abilities he'd used to fool the Avengers all those years ago. Well, looking through all of this to make a new show, Hollywood saw the actor part and jizzed their fucking pants in excitement, tossed out all that boring-ass Marvel Avengers bullshit, and instead of making a show about superheroes, they had the perfect excuse to instead make a show about their absolute favorite subject, themselves. Because here's Hollywood's version of Wonder Man. Simon Williams is an aspiring actor who navigates the crazy world of Hollywood as he tries to get a role in the movie Wonder Man. But when powers start to emerge within him, he needs to keep them a secret in order to get the role, as people with superpowers are not allowed to act in Hollywood. So instead of getting a show about a superpowered hero who just happens to also be an actor, we're getting a show about an actor who just happens to also have superpowers. We've been seeing a lot recently that the people making these things don't give a crap about you, or the characters, or stories, or even the wider audience of casual fans who just want to watch something entertaining. They only care about one goddamn thing, themselves. It's modern Hollywood's favorite fucking thing to write about. Specifically when they're hired to write all these boring, lame old baby superheroes into big old grown-up professional shows. Most of the assholes making these shows have gone on the record and said that they have never even glanced at the comics. Which with shows like Secret Invasion, yeah, I can tell without you coming out and confirming it. Jesus. Hell, She-Hulk's lead writer literally confirmed that She-Hulk is just a self-insert when she said in an interview that the climax of the show was basically just real-life arguments that she had with Kevin Feige, taken and then just stuffed into poor She-Hulk's mouth. But goddamn, man, at the very least, She-Hulk was a show about a big green lady who's a lawyer. Whether you like the show or you're sane, you have to at the very least admit that you can tell what the fuck it even is. Watch any of these trailers for Wonder Man and remove the name Simon Williams, as well as the 2 seconds of the costume on the in-universe movie character Wonder Man, and tell me if you see anything that would identify this as even being related to Wonder Man. This character is an OC, and he's teaming up with another MCU OC in Not-the-Mandarin to make a movie directed by a brand new OC about an actual Marvel character who has been completely changed to also just being an OC. So not only is this not a Wonder Man show, Wonder Man doesn't even exist in the MCU. He's a fictional character from a cheesy in-universe 80s movie. If Simon starts going by Wonder Man in the end, it would be about as stupid and lame as if in real life Mark Ruffalo went around and started asking everyone to call him the Incredible Hulk. Yes, Wonder Man is an actor in comics, but it's not the biggest part of his character. In fact, I would say overall, it's a relatively minor but super interesting aspect of him. Honestly, they could have called this show fucking Johnny Cage, and it would have had about as much in fucking common with him as it does with fucking Simon Williams. But whatever, let's just jump to Red Flag 2, as it's somewhat related anyways. Wonder Man is the MCU doing a self-aware show, despite not being frickin' self-aware in real life. From what we've seen, I think this whole thing is going to be an attempted meta-commentary on fan complaints about the modern MCU and superhero adaptations in general. The plot of this show is that a black actor is going to be portraying a classically white character in a modern remake that the director says will reinvent the genre, which is obviously the exact description of this show itself in real life. And basically a word salad for the kinds of complaints people have been throwing at the MCU for years whenever they make random-ass changes from the comics. I will be shocked if there aren't scenes dealing with backlash to the in-universe Wonder Man movie they're making, specifically the in-universe casting. And I'm less certain, but still expect that there'll also be commentaries on how and why people behind the scenes make these controversial changes. And if they do this, it could go one of two ways. Way one, it's out-of-touch delusional nonsense like She-Hulk's Intelligentsia plotline, where the lead writer has proudly proclaimed how she was able to predict the negative comments the show would be getting before even writing it, then admits she wrote the plot of the show as a troll to those anticipated comments, and then when the show was disliked by the majority of fans for a lot of the same reasons as previous MCU projects, specifically being unfunny, unfocused, unprofessional, and boring, she proudly proclaimed that she did it all on purpose to troll the trolls. Wow, what a fucking genius. Who would have thought making a show that specifically tries to piss off some of your fans would piss off some of your fans? Wow, that's so meta. And how's that working out? Where's She-Hulk's chair in fucking Doomsday, bitch? All of that crap, instead of just ignoring these phantom trolls that she was scared were going to criticize her work and just making the best frickin' She-Hulk show that she possibly could. This showed a level of self-delusion with these people that's off the fucking charts, man. With the writer basically admitting that she genuinely believes that there was no way people could possibly dislike her writing unless they were sexist trolls, while reworking the lighthearted, sassy, and incredibly popular for decades character of She-Hulk into a bitter, resentful self-insert for all the hate and criticism the writer has received in her life and career, leading to a character I'll be surprised if we ever get to see again. Great. Good job. Big pat on the back. And I can guarantee if they pull this kind of crap with Wonder Man, it's gonna lead to the same result. Way number two this kind of attempted meta-commentary can go, if written well, would be something closer to 21 Jump Street's take on soulless TV show movie remakes. It could be a whole elaborate commentary on modern superhero adaptations, and how directors and producers who do not care about the fans or source material just use it as a tool to feed their own egos, pissing off fans and leading to projects that bomb at the box office, while well-meaning actors just doing their jobs are the ones who suffer the consequences. Which would make the casting super meta, since this poor actor got booted out of playing Black Manta due to the whole DCEU imploding from this kind of shit. Hell, with the right writing, it could be a pretty brilliant, thought-provoking show that agrees with everything I've been saying about comic adaptations in Hollywood the past year since I started screaming at people online. But even if it is, I'd still have to ask, if you've got to destroy a character in order to do a commentary on how Hollywood destroys characters, how in the hell is that any fucking better? And based on how cheesy and kitschy the in-universe classic Wonder Man movie looks, it tells me what these people making this show likely see comics as. Stupid, trashy pop art. Not the kind of fine art Hollywood likes to jerk itself off to for making, causing me to think that they're likely leaning towards the She-Hulk example. And I'll be surprised if the people making the show are going to have an understanding of the nuanced reasons fans complain about characters not matching the source material. You want to do this kind of meta-commentary with like NFL Super Pro or some shit? No one but me is gonna care. But Wonder Man deserves better than to be tossed into such a random-ass story, leading me to my next red flag. Without the title Wonder Man, this show just wouldn't have been greenlit. Tell me honestly, if I came up to you and said, Yo, man, there's this dope new show on Disney Plus about an actor who gets superpowers, but Hollywood's banned superpowers, so he tries to keep them hidden while getting an acting job. And just stopped talking and waited expectantly for your response? Would you be pumped enough to buy Disney Plus for a month? If you said, hell yeah, brother, then congratulations, you're part of an incredibly small minority of people. For the vast majority, this premise is just a jumble of random-ass nonsense. There are a million premises for new shows behind the scenes, and we only see like 0.00001% of them, if even that, actually get made, while the rest get flushed down the toilet to oblivion. Some of those ideas are likely so awesome that they would change all of pop culture for decades. But this gets greenlit. If someone had organically had this specific idea for a show, I doubt that it would have ever seen the light of day. But you attach the name of a Marvel Comics character, doesn't really matter which one, as long as it sounds attention-grabbing enough, and I guess Disney will just toss millions of dollars towards making it. Hey Disney, by the way, I've got a great pitch for NFL Super Pro, if you'll just hear me out for a bit. They had the name Wonder Man in a bucket of currently unused Marvel IP somewhere alongside names like Captain Britain and Shamrock. It's some guy's job to grab names out of that bucket and then toss them into a turn into a big budget movie or turn into a moderate budget show piles. Those piles are scooped up by another guy and brought to the pig pens of the MCU, quote, creatives, to figure out how to adapt into an 8-episode television show for Disney+. One of those, quote, creatives saw the word actor and thought, we haven't done an MCU thing about an actor yet. Then a marketing guy floated immaculately down from above and said, excellent idea, slave. We can then put Ben Kingsley in it as that character he played in Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi, and market the whole thing around him. Certain percentage of people remember that plot line, so at least a certain percentage of people will take notice of this show. He then pulled out a whip, mostly for fun, and started whipping those writers, then screamed at them to get back to work as he flew up to his own slightly nicer pig pen 30 floors up. And that half an idea was then developed into an entire show. We're not getting a Wonder Man show because someone is passionate about bringing Wonder Man to life, or even because they think Wonder Man specifically would make a good show people would want to watch. His is just a name on a list somewhere, alongside Sleepwalker and Alpha Flight, of characters who aren't important or well-known enough to turn into a big old movie, so we'll just grab them up when we need more content for these stupid pigs' feeds, and then see what they guzzle down. This was an assembly line job. They reverse engineered this whole thing from the title, and because it had that title, it got produced pretty much whatever it turned out to be. And while the post-Endgame MCU has been filled with this kind of writing, they're finally starting to realize how many fans it's been turning away, leading me to my last and probably most important red flag. The MCU doesn't have faith in this show. Why the fuck should I? Unlike Warner Brothers, who seems happy to just toss projects they know are going to bomb into the shadow zone for the tax write-off, dear God, I want them to release Batgirl. It's my white whale of 3 Cs. Disney seems determined to just release all of it. Damn the consequences to the brand. But that doesn't mean that they actually want people to watch this shit. And there's 2 easy ways we can tell that with Wonder Man, Disney would be fine and dandy if no one even noticed that it came out. First off, there's a simple way to tell which shows Disney has faith in and which they think are just fucked. From WandaVision to Season 2 of Loki, all MCU shows were released on a weekly schedule across a month, sometimes longer, forcing people to pay for Disney Plus as they come out, and then hoping people will have forgotten a week and then wind up having it paid for 3 years as they mean to finish the show. But suddenly, when it came time to release Echo, one of the most brain-dead pieces of slop they've ever produced that every YouTuber who isn't a mouse-guzzling shill was telling you was gonna be crap, they just dumped the entire show on the app all at once. The next 3 shows all returned to a weekly release schedule. But when it came time to release Ironheart, another divisive show without a clear audience, it was dumped onto the app in 2 batches, not even a month apart. And now Wonder Man is getting the same treatment, having all 8 episodes be dumped out on the same fucking day. When Disney knows they have something no one's going to watch, you can always tell because this is their go-to release schedule. Just get it over with, minimize the amount of time YouTubers can milk your crappy show by saying the MCU is dead, and try to get people distracted by the next project. Which, speaking of all times that they could have chosen to release this show, why now? Well, let's look. The majority of MCU fans, both lapsed and modern, are completely distracted by these admittedly pretty fucking cool Avengers Doomsday trailers. These trailers, specifically the second and third one, seem to be doing the impossible. They're turning heads and getting people talking. Not all of it for good, but there's more buzz around the MCU than there has been for years. I mean, literally 2 people genuinely talking about the MCU beats how things have been, but still. And even some of the modern MCU sucks, TM, online commentators are starting to warm up to the possibility that the next Avengers will still likely suck, but maybe not quite as much as they'd expected. Had they released Wonder Man a month ago, and if it's as bad as the last few shows, it's another piece of evidence that the MCU is just dead and buried, and no one should give a shit about it. But if they release it just after these trailers drop, what do I care if some random-ass MCU show isn't all that good? I'm getting fucking Cyclops in costume with Sentinels, man! Oh yeah, boy, I'm so pumped! So basically, from head to toe, before this show even released, it seems like there was just complete apathy for the character of Wonder Man. The people at the top didn't give a shit about the character, they just needed a name to toss onto any random show. The people writing it didn't give a shit about a character, they just selfishly thought it would be fun to write a show about their own experiences in Hollywood. The people deciding when this show releases didn't give a shit if you even watch it. And the majority of people don't seem to give a shit about it at all, as I don't see a lot of people either bitching about it or defending it. It's just radio silence out there, because we've seen this a million times and we know exactly what we're gonna get. So no one fucking cares if Wonder Man's good or not. Wait, no one cares? So why did I make a video about this? No one's even gonna watch this shit. Anyways, what are your thoughts? Am I wrong and this show's gonna be peak as fuck, yo? Let me know in the comments. Agree but think I missed a major red flag? I love hearing your thoughts. And if you just listened to me bitch about a Wonder Man show that isn't even out yet for this fucking long and you ain't subscribed, hit that sub and bell button, man. Sometimes I talk about shit people actually care about. Imagine how interesting that would be. Click that playlist to see the horrors of comic movie adaptations on full display. Until next time, as Wonder Man always says, who gives a shit?